So everybody got full set of gears, and then we planned the first tour. After half an hour, they were saying, "Yeah, I think that's not the sport for us. While we love skiing, doing alpine ski, but that's a bit too much for our fitness level." That's where I got part for idea.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Powder Innovation Podcast. My name is Colton Berry, host and founder of Powder Innovation, and today we have a really cool podcast for you guys. I sat down with the co-founder of a company who is building what is potentially the world's first all-electric ski called E-Skimo. In this interview, we went deep into the genesis of the idea for E-Skimo, what some of the first design challenges were, all the way through to where they're at today, and what they're looking for E-Skimo to accomplish in the future. So sit back and enjoy the podcast. I definitely want to thank you for your time. I know you're probably very busy, especially as the ski season's winding down. But for the Powder Innovation audience, I want to introduce Nicola. He is the CEO and co-founder of E-Skimo, or Electric Ski Mountaineering. It's a really cool piece of technology that's basically an electric ski that's supposed to reduce the effort and increase the efficiency of touring in the backcountry by adding a motor to the back of the ski to help you propel yourself up the slope. So welcome, Nicola. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, if you want to maybe introduce yourself, how you got involved, maybe what involved with E-Skimo, and like how you co-founded the company, what problems that you saw that got this idea going, and where you're at today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Colton, for inviting. I'm very happy to be here with you today talking about E-Skimo. So I'm actually something that maybe someone can say a serial entrepreneur. I've been doing several startups. Mostly my business always been in the software, in the tech industry. I have a lot of passions for the outdoor, also for motorcycles. So one startup I founded a few years back was an electric motorcycle called Italian Volt. And that's basically where I got knowledge about electric motors, battery, power system, control software. E-Skimo came from an idea that I had during COVID. All the ski resorts here in the European Alps were basically in lockdown. So the only way to go and enjoy the mountains were to do ski touring, to do ski mountaineering. And I was already doing that. At that time, I was doing a split board. That is basically the snowboard that can be divided in two and go uphill. And all my friends said, "Oh, okay, we're going to get the gear. We come with you. That's the only way to go." So everybody got full set of gears, and then we planned the first tour. After half an hour, they were saying, "Yeah, I think that's not the sport for us. While we love skiing, doing alpine ski, but that's a bit too much for our fitness level." That's where I got the spark for the idea to say, if we can make something that can just slightly reduce the effort to go uphill so that you maintain your physical intensity, your effort intensity to a level where you don't really go over your heart rate, then that will be very good to basically maintain a pace that makes your enjoyable experience. Similarly to what we've seen with the e-mountain bike, that really open up the opportunity to enjoy the trails for many, many more people, that they started maybe with a lower level of fitness, but over time, even with an electric, with an electric device, over time you gain it, and definitely your fitness level improves.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that makes, I mean, it just, to your point, makes skiing a lot more accessible, especially backcountry. Um, or no,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I,
There's consider that there's a very small part of the mountain regions that are serviced and supported by ski resorts. There's a lot. I mean, whether it's North America or Europe, there's really a lot of mountains that can be used in the summer with trails, with parks, for mountain biking and so on. That in the winter they don't have many ways to be used. So while it's important to ensure that whoever goes in the mountain has the right level of skills, they know how to ski. So we definitely don't want to bring in the mountains people that don't even know how to ski. So it's very important the education to ensure that everybody are before going out there, they are aware of the risk, because obviously it's a terrain which expose people to risk. But there's a lot of people, we met a lot of people that they've been doing also ski touring in the early age, but now they are basically giving up, not because they are not skilled technically, not because they don't know how to manage the outdoor, but because physically they start to get to get the feeling that ski touring is too much. So that's also
yeah,
target for us.
yeah, I can imagine. And I'm curious then, so you mentioned like the genesis of this idea was basically you going touring with your friends, and I understand that the Alps is like way more open and it has a ton of vertical feet maybe compared to some of like the Rocky Mountains. How long do you usually go on tours, and how long can like the Eskimos go in terms of like mileage or vertical feet?
Yeah, exactly. It's, let's say, the tour duration pretty much would be similar now. If you go out for an hour uphill and then go to your descent with Eskimo, you can basically do the same hour now, especially depending on the time, because we are all time concerned. But if we take the same duration of climbing with Eskimo, you can do much more vertical feet. So that's the biggest advantage, because you go faster up, so you can maintain a pace that allows you to reach higher elevation and therefore also enjoying more the descent. So that's, I think, the biggest advantage, because at the end, from a physical, let's say, energy that you put into your muscle, based on all the tests we have done, you can actually reduce up to 30%. But at the end, what really gives you the pleasure of that is really being able to achieve, let's say, the peak, to get enough vertical feet ascent so that you can complete your tour, enjoy the descent, and have a fruitful, let's say, tour on your weekends or weekdays whenever you are out there.
For sure, and I'm curious how long like the Eskimo ski can actually go, like if it's battery powered, like how long that battery lasts before it has to be recharged. That was the first thing. The second thing would be, is there like an ideal slope angle that the Eskimos perform best on, or like once you get to a certain slope, is it just similar to like touring skis where you have to hike up?
Yeah, there's a lot of information in that I can provide to answer your question. The first about the duration of the battery, it's quite simple, although there are differences that are worth to mention. Our current batteries of 240 watt hours on each ski can provide you enough energy to go up to 3 hours, to a tour of 3 hours. Of course, this depends on which power mode you use from the system. It depends also on the type of snow, if it's powder or it is very wet snow from the spring. And it also depends how deep is the snow, because the deeper the snow, the more snow you need to move in every
Yep.
step. So let's say that 3 hours is our target. It might go a little bit lower to 2.5 hours, to a bit more than 3 hours, but we can use 3 hours as a target. In terms of type of terrain that we can use, The snow, it's, we name the snow only in one way, but there's so many different types of snow. Each type of snow provides different tractions, and the skins, the material that you use in traditional ski touring, it's certainly affected by the type of snow. We use basically a similar material. It's like a velvet that provides the traction on the snow. So when you ask me about which angle you can do with the E-Skimo, you can go up to 42, 43 degrees. And what is the snow that provides the best traction going uphill? This is normally a more compact snow, even maybe windy, crusty. This is actually provide an excellent grip. If you go on a snow that is a little bit more powdery, there's something that certainly 42, 43 degrees vertical means stiffness. It's maybe more difficult, so you will probably do more traverse. So you would probably stay within 25, 30 degrees. But then another conditions may come on there. If it is a very icy, like now it's springtime here in the Alps. Like last day I went out at the sunrise, it was 6 a.m. In the afternoon it's melting down, it's water. So at 7 a.m. it's ice crust. We have very good traction, but actually doing traverse on this snow condition, unless you put crampons, it's very hard. So also on Eskimo, you can install crampons and go traverse, but also a good way to go with Eskimo is trying to always go straight up, find a line that goes straight up, because rather than the traverse in this type of snow, you have much more footprint, much more section of the ski. It's actually touching the snow. So that's the best condition. So in general, let's say we can use certain degree angles, but we can also, worth to mention for your followers, that Eskimo is also not really the gear that an alpinist, someone who then carry the skis on the backpack and then finally go with the ropes, the crampons under the feet. So we basically design a product which is more for a light, medium tour where people really want to enjoy, not really expose themselves to extremely dangerous terrain. That's our current target. But as said, you can also get some very steep angle when there's no conditions.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned like the target audience being those that might be not as fit as they want to be. And at that point, if you're getting into some like extreme mountaineering, maybe it's not right for them anyways. They're probably going to have their own advanced like touring setup and things.
And you know very well that when you do extreme mountaineering, you count the grams. So sometimes certainly you're not going to bring a free ride ski, but you're going to probably you bring a very thin, very light. Everything counts. So that's not exactly our target right now, because it's not something that you want to carry on your backpack. A very wide powder ski for a climb with ropes.
Cool. So I'm thinking now maybe we can transition to kind of the design process that you and your team faced while designing Eskimo. So maybe throughout the design process and when you were like creating your MVP and now have been like refining the product, what were some of like the biggest technical challenges that you faced when designing that motorized system?
Yeah, I would say three dimensions. The first challenge is the traction. That's finding a way to make sure that you have traction to go uphill, at least similarly to what you would do in ski touring. The second is the weight, because the power you need to put to give you the assistance has to be a good balance between something that then you'll be able to carry down in your backpack. And then the third is the usability, because the activation, having a ski that goes forward in an unexpected or in an unnatural, non-natural way, you may lose balance now because you feel it pushed from one ski, but then the other stays still. So activation, it's the way we provide the power. It's the biggest challenge. It's one of the biggest challenges. That's why I say the top three. So how did we address these three problems in the design? We certainly said, okay, weight first. The weight is something we can address a little bit later. First, we want to validate the traction. Is the motor provide really assistance? So the first prototypes were very bulky, very heavy and not so natural in activation, but we were testing the materials and the way to have the traction belt to provide the right amount of traction and grip on the various snow conditions. That was very first. Then we started working on the activation weight, and that's where we have done a lot of work by sensorizing the entire ski so that we have now this automated activation that sense each ski position, sense where your heel is from the binding, and with that one we are able to basically provide in each step a very natural feeling on activation. And third, then to address the weight, we kept, let's say, the weight a little bit for later because weight comes, there's now a lot now of microcontroller, very small electric motors, batteries are also improving in terms of energy density. So it's something that there's a lot also out there that we can pick from the existing, let's say, make everything smaller, everything lighter, still maintaining the reliability. So we definitely then work on that. But this was the approach into the design. Now, first, we solve the problem that if you have no traction, basically you have no help because it's not really helping you going farther. And then subsequently the other problems. But all in all, as I said, I got the idea during COVID, so we are now been developing E-Skimo for 40 years. So it's been quite a lot of research and a lot of time spent on field. What we do, it's obviously giving preference during the winter to be on the slopes, to be on the snow, to be in the real environment where the product has to stay. And then in the summer, doing more bench test, bench design and development. That's basically how it works. Unfortunately, we don't live in 12 months of winter, even though I would love to have a 12 months
You
of
and me
winter
both.
right now.
Yeah, kind of while you're explaining that, one thing that was coming to mind, especially with like usability, would be like the variability of who would actually be using like the Eskimo skis when it comes to like height and weight of like the skier themselves and the gear that they have. How do you guys test for like those variations or incorporate the variability of humans into that design?
Yeah, it's in fact it is a key parameter for the algorithm to basically provide the automation. So the weight of the user, not only the weight but also the height, because the longer your legs, the different step you have to execute. So the system, the app allows to do a pre-configuration, but there is also an initial procedure. The first time you go, it's called calibration. So the system learns your way of moving and steps in the first part of the execution, and then from there basically adapt its execution in a way that it's really working in a more natural way. All of us, we have a slightly different way of walking, and sometimes we also have one legs. We have seen what with the data we collected, there's many people that does longer steps on one leg versus the other, on the right versus the left, and those are all things that our algorithm basically sense, detect, and then basically makes decision based on this information.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And then I would imagine too, I mean, it can probably calibrate and kind of readjust based off of like the surface that the skier
Absolutely.
is going on during the tour as well. Because I mean, naturally, if you're going straight and one leg's going further than the other, it can probably make like a pretty easy adjustment. But I'm sure it gets a little more tricky when you're actually like changing slope, changing different surfaces, coming into different obstacles and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
consider that every 2 milliseconds, the algorithm makes a decision on how to provide the power based on a number of sensors, which is not only the speed, the acceleration, the GPS position, but also basically it sends each ski. So not only the steepness of the trail, but also where each ski is in relation to each other, and also what type of slip factor the belt has, because if it's an extremely let's say good snow that provides a lot of traction, then we provide a higher RPM and accelerate a bit faster. But if the snow doesn't have much traction, then we accelerate a little bit slower in order to get better traction. Similarly to the traction control the anti-slip that you have in the cars. Now, even if you put full power on, you don't get the burnout of the wheels if you have this anti-slip.
That's super cool. Definitely, this is just making me want to try it out. But I did want to talk maybe now a little bit about kind of like what the future holds, what partnerships you guys are currently exploring over at E-Skimo. So I've read, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you've chosen to partner with existing ski manufacturers instead of going directly to a customer. What kind of drove that strategy, and what excites you about going directly to businesses instead of the consumers?
Yeah. I mean, the reason is that we are a team of people that are extremely good, or we say good, in power electronics, battery management, and so on and so forth. But I mean, all the core component of the Eskimo drive system. We are all passionate skiers, but out there is an incredible know-how from the leading ski brands on making the ski itself. So we think that skiers, they want to still be able to choose their favorite ski brands powered by E-Skimo. So our idea is really to say, we come with a product that we have developed because we have the know-how for that, but we want to partner with the best in class to make the ski where our components goes on top of it. So that's essentially the reason, so that the consumers can still go out there and say, this is my favorite brand. Now there is a version which is electrified. I can still buy from there. So this is our main reason, and we have started to basically engage with different ski brands. They are all very interested about this innovation. So we hope that this is going to be the right.
Are there any partnerships that you're really excited about or hope for?
Yeah, definitely. We are cooking something for next winter. So definitely there will be some updates soon that will come. So I really look forward to the next winter. That's why I really, my current wish is really to have a longer winter so that we could be on the slopes even more than we could in the last months. But definitely for next season we'll have something for the market to really go, and we really look forward. The last season has been extremely intense. We have done a lot of iteration on our product, a lot of improvements. We had a lot of consumers that came to test the product in the real use case scenarios. They provided us a lot of feedbacks, very valuable. So now with this, we are approaching toward the first commercial product for the next summer.
Nice. Yeah, that's super exciting. I'm curious if, for the purpose or for my audience, where can they tune in to get some of these updates, learn more about E-Skimo and some of the exciting things that you guys are doing, especially when you're looking to make this a commercial product in the next year?
Absolutely. So if you want to follow and know what's going to be the updates about the product, we on our website e-skimo.swiss, we're going to keep everyone up to date so that they can follow the news from there. Also on our social channels like Instagram, we'll also going to publish information in there. So I know that now the summer is coming, so people are not gonna spend much time thinking about skiing. Maybe they will think about other sport probably in the summer. But we're gonna have updates in the coming weeks and months.
Cool. Well, I hope I hope people stay in tune in the summer. I feel like that's when the majority of research happens. That's when they can get the majority of deals and stuff on new skis and ski brands. So I feel like staying in touch with what you guys are doing would be right up the alley of trying to explore deals and some of the new stuff that's coming for the winter that they could potentially take advantage of.
Great.
The last couple of questions I have here, just a little more future focused. Let's see, what's one feature or idea that you're dreaming of for a version 2.0 for the E-Skimo skis?
I think it's still an evolution. The basic, the core of the product is solid now. So I think evolution, farther range in the battery, farther weight reduction over time as technology will evolve. That's for sure where we go, and different use cases. I see also the product diversification. Now it's been designed for more like a free ride kind of ski. Maybe in the future also, more lightweighted and thinner skis, but also different use cases. We've been discussing with rescue teams, with armies that may want to use this product in different contexts. So it's an evolution of the current product for different use cases. I think similarly to what we have seen also in the mountain bikes now there are more powerful, less powerful, lighter, heavier for downhill versus trail. So these, I think, the differentiation that the product will.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to reconnect in like a year or two to see what some of the cooler advances that you guys
Absolutely.
are making there.
And also, I think one thing to mention is that the product will get better and better as the more E-Skimo will be around, because all the data we collect from the usage will help making the software more and more natural in its power delivery. So, with all this now data analytics and AI capabilities, that all the data we collected we can use for improving the product on an ongoing basis.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time to be in the space of innovation in the ski industry.
Absolutely.
Cool. The one final question that I have is, at Powder Innovation, we explore how technology is rewriting the future of skiing and snowboarding. So outside of your amazing technology, what's one piece of gear, one idea, or even like a moment that you've heard about, like on a lift, that has made you pause and think that this idea, if it comes to fruition, would change everything?
I mean, maybe I can mention something still in our niche sector of the ski touring. I think that the ski touring, the current bindings with pins, it's a bit of barrier for many newcomers. So when I saw the type of bindings that can use the traditional alpine boots, I thought, well, this is going to make more people to try out ski touring. So that was one of my new ideas that I thought it was going the right direction. On the other hand, we're still seeing this type of hybrid touring alpine binding still a bit heavy. So they have about 1 kilo to bring up. So I hope someone from the in the bindings industry will keep working on that, because I think we need an easier way to basically put our boots into the ski also when you go ski touring.
Yeah, that's super interesting actually that you mentioned that. One of the other interviews that I've done is with Daymaker Touring, and so they actually created one of those adapter bindings, and so their first model just clips into a regular alpine binding, and their second one requires pin bindings to go up, but you literally take it out. And in addition just to like the tough barrier to entry, like the biggest takeaway I had from our conversation was like the safety aspect of it. There's just like a ton of knee injuries that occur because of the current like binding setup of touring skis. And so yeah, I'm right there with you that that's certainly like an innovation, because it'll save, I feel like, a ton of knee injuries as people will inevitably fall no matter where they're at.
Yeah, and maybe, I just want to close with another idea. Since E-Skimo brought a smart device on the ski and battery power, maybe the bindings might become also smart. Sense what's happening, basically adjust based on the real environment.
Yeah, I mean, that's super interesting. Bindings are something that, I mean, might look revolutionary, but certainly have not changed all that much, I feel like, throughout their inception. So I like that idea a lot.
Right.
Well, cool.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much for this. This has been a great conversation. Well, that's it for today's pod. I'd like to thank Nicola again so much for his time, providing us some awesome insights into the world of E-Skimo, where they started, where they're at, and where they're headed next. If you enjoyed this, I've included links to where you can follow E-Skimo and their progress as they look to commercialize next winter. Also, if you liked this video and support Powder Innovation, please consider subscribing and following us on Instagram at Powder Innovation. Until next time, thanks.